Welcome to the Skeptic's Guide to Investing with Steve Davenport and Clem Miller. Every 2 weeks, Steve and Clem bring you brief investment insights you may not find anywhere else. We hope you enjoy today's episode. Today, we start with Steve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast, Skeptic's Guide to Investing with Steve Davenport and Clem Miller. Today, we're going to be talking about charity as we approach the end of the calendar year. So, Steve, as we approach the year end, many are finalizing tax planning and looking to harvest losses. The harvest of losses is a process where, of course, you sell securities with a loss to offset a gain you may have taken elsewhere. These strategies work when you're itemizing versus using standard deductions. So, Steve, what is a donor-advised fund?
Thanks, Clem. A donor-advised fund is a very popular vehicle for individuals and small foundations and endowments to take money and receive a tax deduction for the money you donated, and then leave the management and control of those assets with the person who donated them. So it's donor advised, meaning it's not advised by the charity, it's advised by the person who's giving the money. And it's really a very valuable way for people to defer and to benefit in the year of giving, right? You can not know where you're going to donate something, but know that you want to get rid of, donate a stock to a charity, you just don't know which one. So let me give you an example. If you had 10 shares of NVIDIA and it was at $450 when you donated them, and you had a cost basis of about $440 per share, I'd sell it and I'd have a $4,000 gain, a long-term gain. State and federal would add up to about 25% or $1,000 of tax liability. Now I can contribute the remaining $3,400 to my charity, and they're giving away $100 food packages for families in need. So 34 people would receive this benefit. When I have a DAF, I gift the stock to my account at Fidelity, and I transfer the $4,400 to my food charity, so 44 people receive the benefit, and the tax entities don't get that $1,000. I like to maximize my impact.
Well, that's very interesting, Steve, and I'm sure a lot of folks would like to explore that maybe on future podcasts. So, Steve, let's go to a more basic, a very fundamental question. Why donate to charity?
Well, I know this sounds simple, but it's good for you. When you look at recent studies, particularly the Cleveland Clinic did a long study on this, it talked about how the body releases chemicals, endorphins, when you feel the relief and the happiness of helping someone. So when your body does these things naturally, you find that you can look at something and say, hey, what are the benefits to this personally? I know there's a happiness high, a helper's high, but there's other things too. So what they said is there's 4 basic reasons that you will feel good about donating to charity. Lower blood pressure, longer lifespan, less stress, lowers your cortisol level. So cortisol is a negative when you get angry, and therefore it releases and can have bad effects. The 4th thing is a helper's high from endorphins. It elevates your happiness and it combats depression. So there are great reasons to give to a charity in terms of community impact. There are people who are in need, and you're satisfying that as part of your plan in terms of your overall wellness. I think that charity should be thought of just like any other asset, how you've done and how you've managed your impact in charity.
So Steve, that's really great. I think it helps us all to be able to give back a little bit. And of course, that's a personal decision as to who you're going to give back to. So from a financial perspective, why why is charity helpful to your own financial position?
So if you're taking deductions, which I think people with large interest, especially where interest rates have gone up, interest and sales tax will mean that you don't use the standard deductions. So if you're going to take deductions, when you contribute a stock in 24 to the charity or to the donor advised fund, it counts to off just your adjusted gross income. 30% adjustment for stock is the maximum, and 60% of your adjusted gross income with cash. So remember, the excess you give, if it's above that 30 or 60% number, will still be counted towards your taxable income. It just be counted towards next year's. It doesn't expire. It just doesn't apply to this year. So deductions in 24, well, there's contributions in the future are the basic reason why these are very helpful. You can take the deduction now when your income might be higher, and then you can decide to give to things as you identify them in your community.
Oh, interesting. So you're not really locked into a particular year.
No.
So what I understand, there's some other benefits to this process. So can you elaborate on that?
Sure. When you donate to the charities, the organizations are analyzed by the people at your particular. In order for a charity to give to, has to go to another charity, and they have to verify that that charity is legitimate. So it prevents fraud from occurring in your account, where you see something on TV or you see a billboard and you send someone money that maybe isn't legitimate. This prevents that from happening. Also, it has a benefit of anonymity. So if you want to remain anonymous when you're giving to something, you can choose to do that. You have 3 levels of disclosure. The first is your name, your address, and your email. The second level is just the name of the group or the name on the account, which in our case is Davenport Family. So I think that some people like that third option where they don't have any information. They're not going to get mail. They're not going to get phone calls. So anonymity is another great advantage of these vehicles, Clem.
That's interesting. I'm particularly taken by the verification process because, I've seen circumstances, and probably all of us have, where charities are misrepresenting themselves, and you get sort of confused as to what they're actually doing. They may have names that are similar to other names, or they're
there's going to be fraud everywhere. And the question, we all, you and I are trying to figure out, how do we do a little bit better, in the market. Everybody's trying to figure out how to do a little bit better. And this, to me, is a nice way for them. They have something called a charity navigator that looks at all the charities and says, here's the ones, how much they spend on the product and how much they spend in the area and how much they spend, raising money. And if you look at administratively, if they're too large, then you can say, hey, they're not using my money well. I'll look around at other choices and pick one that's more efficient. That's a great feeling to be, you worked hard to earn that money and you work hard to allocate that money.
Totally agree. So Steve, how do you personally, or how should one personally decide on the particular charity? You've mentioned the navigator, but beyond that, how what would you do? How do you look at charities?
I think you got to look at it in terms of your personal values. There's 4 basic types of charities in 4 main areas: religious, health, education, and welfare. And we see people who need food, and we're involved in making sandwiches for the homeless people. So my wife makes 1,000 sandwiches this year. It feels good when you're out in the community and you see there are people that need food and you know that you've provided some for them. So there's a certain degree of tying into your own community engagement. There's the religious aspect of a church you may attend, or an elementary school or religious school that you think is really doing a good job. Health is always a need area. If you have had personal incidents in a family of cancer or something, You can see why that would be a great cause. And education, a lot of people in this country have done very well because of their education, and they give back at unusual rates. So I think the key in the charities is line up your values, try to pick a goal, and then say, okay, how do I like that area? And then if you like it, some people, the hardest choice is deciding between giving more to one or giving to 2 or 3 different charities. And I think it's just like investments. You want to diversify and see how they do.
So Steve, are there better vendors in this charity space? How do you decide among all the choices that are out there in terms of who's trying to invest your money in charities?
Yeah, I think that the most common 2 or 3 places are Fidelity, Schwab, and Vanguard, because that's where a lot of people have their assets. And so I'd encourage people to use them. It's pretty easy. You basically drag and drop from one area to an account that you're already connected to. It really works very easily that way. It also can work out to try a new provider. If you have most of your assets at Fidelity and you want to try an account at Vanguard, make your retirement account at Vanguard, or make your donor advised fund at Vanguard. And then it kind of gives you exposure to another vendor and what they're doing, and helps you, find out what you're really looking for. So I think community foundations are an easy way to get exposure, because not only are they active in your community already, so they're already working with some of the charities to try to help. So it's a great way for you to immediately go from, I'm not sure what the community is made up of, to now I get a whole picture of different groups doing different things and how my values fit into it.
So I'll take this mid-podcast opportunity to thank you all for listening to Skeptic's Guide. You can subscribe, like, follow, share with your friends. We're now on all the major podcast directories, as well as on YouTube. So continuing here, why did the days in December matter, Steve?
I don't know. I think that people felt that when we talked about Black Friday and we talked about Cyber Monday, there was something missing the days after Thanksgiving, and that is the idea of gratitude. And so it created a kind of a offset to the commercialism of the holidays, with calling it the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is Giving Tuesday. And so I think it's important for people to understand that your taxes are on a December 31 year end, and therefore any contributions you give need to be given by December 31st.
So we're obviously we're past the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, but that doesn't stop you from having the remaining Tuesdays being Giving Tuesdays.
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of people. Most charities collect about 25% of their year-end gifts or contributions during the month of December, because most people all wait until the last minute to make their decisions. And
I think that's a common.
That's an American tradition.
Any ideas on how much to give, Steve?
Well, I think that there's different ideas about how much to give away, and there's also how much to contribute of your own assets. Of your own assets, I think you should give what you can, feel comfortable with in terms of, how do you feel like it satisfies, your desire to help in the community and do what you want to do. I think your economics in terms of where you are, or close to retirement or in retirement, are all going to impact how much you want to give. What I meant, when I think about giving, I think about once you have the assets in the donor advised fund, what do you do with them? And how much do you give away every year? You can, give away 10%, and it might last, 11 or 12 years. You give away 5, it probably lasts closer to 20 to 30 years. So I tend to give away somewhere around 4 or 5%. That's the traditional number, and I vary it, 2% to 7%, and try to keep my 5-year average right around 5. I think ultimately that feels good in terms of your overall. And I think that when we go through this, we go through good times and bad times, and I think our our ability to give changes. So it's flexible. But the most important thing is just to get started. Because if we get started with something small and you see how it works, you see the benefits, it's pretty easy to suddenly get on board.
Yeah. Are there any things that we don't want to do?
Yeah, don't feel like you have to do it all today. Look at it and say, this is a lifetime account. This is an account that when I pass away, the people who are on it with me are going to take over management of. So we're talking about our kids doing it with us. We think it's a great way to educate them on how is it invested, and also what are we going to do in charities and where should we get the money. So I have a system I haven't fully implemented, but I'd like to say we get to each of them, does 30% of it, and makes the decision on where to put that money. So I think each of us has goals. So I try to make it a unifying event for a family around the concept of giving. Talk about it. If you don't talk about it, I don't know how you expect people to get better at it. So I think it's important that you talk about why certain charities in certain times. And when it was more basic needs right after COVID hit, we gave more money to basic needs. When we tried to do other things, we focused on education and health. So it all changes as you go through time, but 5% is my number.
So Steve, let's take a look at the mailbag here. And basically what we've got in the mailbag is a question as to whether either of us use a donor advised fund. So I'll tell you, for me, I don't. But based on our discussions, I think I will definitely look into that. We do give a lot to charity. I kind of leave it to my wife to make those decisions. So I think the two of us, and I'm sure a lot of us may be like that too, leaving our spouse to make that kind of decision. So I think we're going to sit down and decide if we can do this in a more structured way than we've done in the past. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I joke with people. I call it Davenport Co. I try to manage the family's, finances and where we are and how everybody's doing. It's just I think that when you think about giving, you want to think about if your daughter is working in a particular area in sociology and is hearing about a certain thing going on in the community that's, could be easily fixed, you find a charity and focus on it, So I think it's really a great opportunity. We've had a Fidelity donor advised fund for about 8 years. We've contributed about $40,000 to it. And from that 40,000, we've contributed 23,000 to various charities. So being mathematical people, we think, okay, 40,000, 23, that means there's 17,000 left. But no, because you're allowed to grow the assets before you give them, and you're allowed to grow what you still have in the account, we still have about 30,000 in the account. So I think that money is making money for you tax-free while you decide what to focus your grants on. I think that's a great way to, make something that's really important to you. Charity is really important to me. I really want to try to make the world a little bit better, and I'm doing it through my actions, but I'm also doing it through my money. And I think that when we look at this, using your money well, this really makes a lot of good points. So I'm going to summarize. When you take deductions, this is a great vehicle to consider. Bottom line, I'm not saying anybody should do it. I'm saying you should consider it. Charity has health, community, and other benefits. It is good for you. It's good to think about. It's exciting to go to visit people who are doing good work. And it's exciting to know that your money has impact when you see a package of food going to a family. Start slow, get comfortable. This is a long game. Giving and helping in your community shouldn't be, we do it this week and then we don't think about it. It should be what do we think are the things that will help? And then working with others in your family can be very unifying. It can help you understand what's important to them and their values, and it can help you mold and shape your own views as you move on. So we all change as we grow up. And I think as skeptics, we're going to always be looking at what's the best way to do this, and how should I do things that are going to benefit me and my family and the community long term. So I'm going to call it an episode, and you'll see in the transcript some links to various vendors. And I think you'll find that useful if you're looking into this concept of donor advised fund. Anything you can think of, Clem?
No, I think we've covered the topic. So, Steve, I thank you for this topic, and thank you for introducing me to certain elements of it. I find that I'm learning something new all the time, and certainly this donor advised fund business is something that's somewhat new to me. I haven't used it yet, but I think I will. It's
good to consider,
Yep.
All right. Have a good.
The views shared on this podcast represent the personal investment views of the hosts. They are for educational purposes and not meant to be taken as investment advice. Listeners should consult their own investment, legal, and tax advisors. Past performance of any investments is not a guarantee for future return.